Hey, Tamara. How's it going, girl? We are just waiting for April to join us here, and it is going to be a very cool convo today about marketing. I'm excited. Okay, I am going to. Hi, Jerry. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're getting April on right now. Hi, Haley.
Yay!
Hi, April. How are you?
I'm good. I was trying to join you on my iPad and it wouldn't let me join you, so I had to do it on my phone.
I know it's weird. I think the phone is the easiest as far as logistics goes. I don't know why, but I'm happy to have you here.
Yes. Is the sound quality okay? Because it's coming through my phone now.
Yep, it's awesome.
Okay, perfect.
All
Yay.
right. So, you guys, I am here with April Meese today. She is a renowned business coach and educator. So, before we introduce her, I'll just tell you a quick little snippet about myself. I am the founder of the online Paramedical Tattoo Academy, and my why is to help PMUs add paramedical tattooing to their businesses so they can help heal their clients with tattoos. So without further ado, April, please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. This is fun. I am also a permanent makeup artist, just like yourself, and I had my beauty business, my brick and mortar business, and then I realized that I could help beauty professionals that were just starting to really overcome a lot of the hurdles that I faced, and the lessons that I learned through trial and error. And there weren't really any coaches or guidance out there, and so I now am a beauty marketing strategist to help professionals grow their business and kind of shortcut some of the hard lessons that I learned.
Absolutely. And I think there are so many of those to learn. And having people like yourself is such a blessing because I know for you and I who have been in this industry since 2008, oh my God, I really do feel like we've probably learned the hard way. So sharing some of those lessons with PMUs, just how to make their business more successful is so valuable.
Yeah, because I think when you're first starting a business, you have so many questions, right? There's so many different ways you're hearing about, should I do the reels? Should I do, SEO? There's so many different things that you can focus your time and energy and money on. And so it's like knowing which way, and just also so many questions when starting a business. So having somebody to bounce those ideas off of and help you get past like your own stuff, because we all have, like I have a coach because if I could get to that next level, I would already be there. So I need somebody to help me, uncover the things that might be holding me back.
Yeah, I agree. I am such an advocate of having a coach. I have one as well, and I have for actually many years. It really does help you organize yourself better, and it sets you up
Yeah.
for success. I think it is that fast track of getting there instead of just trying to navigate it on your own. So I think a lot of really smart business people do take that avenue to get that help, and it just catapults you ahead. So why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, even if you look at like Olympic athletes, they all have coaches. You know,
Yeah.
even the people that you would think that are at the top of their game, like a Michael Jordan, they have coaches. They have people that help them push them harder. We all know that we could go to the gym by ourselves, but if you have a trainer there, you're going to work harder.
Absolutely. And I think even not only just from a business coaching perspective, but somebody like yourself to sort of wrap up with a nice pretty bow on it, how to market themselves. So it's not just about where you're going, but it's about how you're going to get there.
That's right. Yeah, because a lot of this stuff we haven't been taught. You know, no one was, we were just taught the skill of whatever service that we offer, and we weren't really taught like how to market ourselves, what our marketing message is, how to stand out as unique. You might learn about, you know, of course you can watch videos on, you know, YouTube on, you know, how to do the various platforms, but I think that the foundation about messaging is what a lot of people are missing.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And there's so many different ways to market yourselves today that I think trying to navigate that on YouTube by yourself is like, it's okay, but it's just scratching the surface. And I don't think it really gives you the proper strategies. And even for myself, like we've been doing this for a long time, yet think of how much it's changed since we started. I know for myself, Facebook ads were insanely popular for me probably 8 years ago, like insanely popular. I want to say for every ad, it translated into countless sales. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. And now that is so different. It's different on how you get followers, how you target your market, what social media platform you need to use. So I mean, even that just makes my head spin, and I've been at this for a while. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, things are always evolving because one of the things with marketing, as we see, you know, some things get better as they age, like wine, and some things and some things get worse, right? Like milk, right?
Yeah.
And marketing is one of those things as well, because what happens is people get immune to it. So at the beginning, ads are new and they're novel. And so people are like, oh, this is good. And then at the end, they're like, oh, another ad, right? And so they don't take, so what used to get their attention no longer gets their attention. I mean, just think about when you drive down the road, or even if you're a passenger, we rarely look at billboards.
Yeah.
Right? And those used to get our attention. Now they have to be like really catchy to get your attention. But most people are like on their phone. Even if they're driving, they're on their phone.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
And I think just like even that billboard concept, I think back to probably New York, Times Square, how their billboards are so massive, automated, always changing. I mean, those do catch my attention, but you think you should be like captivated and wanting to sit there all day, but people do get desensitized to it. So I'm sure the average New Yorker who's walking down the street probably doesn't even pay attention to that. Some tourists for sure, because it's so novel. But yeah, just like a completely different ball game out there now.
Yeah, and it's funny because as a New Yorker, because that's where my beauty business is, in New York City. So I was there for 17 years. I'm in California now, as you know, but Southern California, but 17 years in New York City. You're just walking straight. You're not even looking at those billboards. You're not looking up. And it's funny because the tourists will stop and they'll be looking up and you're like, trying to get around them because they'll just stop right in the middle of the sidewalk. And you're like, you know, on your way. And so, yeah, we don't even notice it.
Yeah, totally.
You just keep going.
I think for me, one of the keys for marketing, and I think it's been super successful in my business, which is something I like to share, is how adding paramedical has completely changed the dynamic of my business. And the reason for that is because it gives you different exposure to different markets. So you know how you and I are talking, it's like it's saturated, it's hard to get attention. This is something that does that for PMUs that I think is really new on the horizon. It's giving back. There's so much gratitude around the services, but you capture such a different market, which is it's a business person's dream. Because I think what happens is you're a business owner, you are focused on your target market, which for us is, you know, typically females ages like 20 to maybe even 60. And how do you get around that? Like, yes, there are other segmented markets to go after, and those are important, but it doesn't really make up the meat and potatoes of your business. So to try and evolve that, I think most PMUs hit a wall at some point. There's like 50 other girls in their neighborhood doing PMU. So one of the very cool things that I think happens with paramedical tattooing is that opportunity to reach out to 100% of the population. And that is such a unique way to grow your business. And I would say is very challenging to have that kind of opportunity as an entrepreneur. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. I always tell my students, like, if you look at businesses, they get known for one thing first, right? Think about anybody that you follow in the permanent makeup or any beauty industry. They're known for that one thing. Anastasia was known for brows, right? We know Amazon was originally books, right? Zappos was originally shoes. So they start with that one thing that they're known for, then they expand. So instead of being a jack of all trades, they're the master of that one. And think also, and that's a great way to stand out, right? And it exposes you to that audience that's just looking for that. Yeah. And the other thing about that is, let's just say you injured your foot, right? You know, if you injure your foot, you're not going to go to your just general doctor, right? The family doctor. You're going to go, if you really want to walk properly again, you're going to go to an orthopedic, like a foot surgeon, right? Like you're going to go to the one that is specialized. So having that specialty skill really sets you apart from just all of the others when you're looking at, when they're trying to see like, who should I go to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are businesses that do evolve to grab that concept, but not all of them are successful, because it's like Amazon, let's take them, who obviously is a really successful version of that. But, you know, there are so many companies who have done that were super specific, try and grow, and it doesn't work. We only mentally know the ones that do, because those stand out to us and they did work. There's so many who never were able to get outside that circle and focus that. So for PMUs, I definitely, like, I felt back in the day, when I had all these services, I thought that was amazing, and there was nobody else offering that. And today I think that market is really expanding for PMUs to add those types of services. And it's a completely different market to advertise to, not only just to your existing clients, but reaching out to new clients. But one of the other really cool things is reaching out to plastic surgeons, reaching out to dermatologists. Facebook groups are amazing for very specific groups of people, like i.e. people who have had burns, what they do to improve their burns, what they did to heal their burns, what makeup do they use to cover it. And so there's such targeted groups out there that are available to us. So when you do have the opportunity to add something as cool as this to your business, it isn't difficult to market. Sorry, my screen keeps closing off there. So April, tell me a little bit about how you would market to existing clients and new clients in the field of PMU.
Yeah, so when you look at marketing, as we said at the beginning, there are so many things that you could focus your energy on, right? We all have the three main resources: time, money, and then I would say creativity, right? So this is when you don't have much time or money. You have to get creative. You have to get resourceful. And so looking at where you're going to put, your time and your money. And I always say that there are three ways that you can build your business. The first one is, or three ways you can grow your audience and get more clients. The first is build, buy, or borrow. So build is what everybody knows, because build obviously takes time, but it takes no money. So when we're just starting, build is when you do it yourself. That's when you're doing it from scratch. You're putting it on social media. You're trying to build your audience yourself. Buy, we know, is ads, and that's going to be advertisement, and that can fall into a lot of different buckets. But advertisement the great thing about advertisement is it's going to speed up the process. So it's going to shorten the time, but it does take money. So, and it does take time because there's some testing. So I think the idea is, like you said, Jody, you know, back in 2005 or even 2010, you know, it was different, right? And so things work differently. And now, you know, there's an ad is 25% of the feed. So every fourth post is an ad on Instagram and Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram. So they're monetizing their platform. So buy doesn't have the same grab that it used to have, right? So it's not to say it can't work, but it's just, it does take time and money. So people don't realize that. Now, borrow is the one that I like to focus on. So borrow is when you find people that have a large audience of your ideal clients, like not just any random client, but your ideal beauty buyers. And so that I call them authority referral partners. Sometimes they're called power partnerships. Sometimes people call them relationship capital. There's so many different names for it because this has been around for a while, but I think especially it's one of those things that a lot of people don't think about doing. Right? They don't think about creating those relationships where they say, okay, who has my ideal clients? Who has my beauty buyers? And this actually falls into two categories. So one would be the authority referral partners, as I just mentioned. And that could be a dermatologist, a plastic surgeon, as you said, a hairstylist. There's a lot of those. And then the second category of borrow is also publicity. And a lot of people don't think of that because publicity, again, has a large audience of your beauty buyers. And the thing that is really unique about borrowing your audience is it gives you the credibility and it gives you the recognition by a third party, both with authority partners and the press, that ads just can't buy and would take you a long time to build yourself.
Yeah.
So you get those instantly. Of course, you get the visibility to a wide audience, but it's just a different level of kind of like an authority or built-in trust.
Yeah.
When you have that referral and the press. And I mentioned the press because I actually have a workshop coming up for teaching publicity. But again, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't think about because they just think of the standard ways. And when you do the unconventional things, it actually kind of builds, like that expression, builds a moat around the castle.
Yeah.
Because then your competition can't touch you because it's not the thing that most people would think of.
Yeah. And it truly is, I think, when you are in a very competitive market, which I mean, honestly, let's just be straight up here. That's most businesses today. But it does allow you some means of thinking outside the box and separating yourself from your competition, which we all talk about. But I think most people don't really know how to do it. It's great to talk about these things, but when people don't know how to execute them properly, it's like, well, you're just chasing your tail, which is also why business coaching and education comes in handy, because then you start learning these tactics of how to do this. What is one of the most popular borrow techniques that you would suggest to our audience?
Yeah, so whether it is when you want to connect with authority referral partner, people always think, I think there are some couple misconceptions. One, they think if it is a referral partner, they think, well, why would anybody want to partner with me? Or they're afraid to ask, or they don't want to burden that other referral partner. That there's all of these, we all have our own like imposter syndrome and our own little, I call it like mean girl self-talk, like who am I to do this? And the same thing with press, like why would anybody want to talk about my business? But what you need to know is, let's just say with the press, first of all, they're looking for stories all the time, like every day. Like they're just like us. They need constant content to keep going. So that works to your advantage. You just need a creative hook to kind of get in front of them. Like you do have to have a headline, something catchy, and of course you have to have your messaging and your strategy down, because you could get press and it just not mean anything for your business.
Yeah. And
then when you're talking about referral partners, they also want to look for ways to promote their business, right? So if you always want to think, what will be a win for them and a win for me, right? Because oftentimes we go into it like a like a teenager going through puberty on a first date. Like we're like, we just want them to like us.
Yeah.
We just, kind of vomit on them all of this stuff of like why we're great.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like proposing on the first date. They're like, that's too much. Instead of really thinking like, what would serve their audience or what would make this a win-win connection? It could be that a referral partner, they get a percentage. So maybe you give them a little bit of a percentage. I do that with my program. Anybody that refers my coaching program, they get a little bit of a percentage. So there's an incentive for them. But the thing is that I'm only paying them on results.
Yeah.
So I'm getting an audience that I wouldn't normally have gotten. So you have to think about that like that. You're getting a client that you wouldn't have normally had. So you're not really paying like ads where you're paying out of pocket and hoping it's going to happen. This you're paying after the results.
It's quantified.
It's quantified. And press, there's no payment at all. Right?
I'll share some secrets about how I've been in the press. Paramedical is a hook, line, sinker. I will say that right now, it is not difficult to sell. I have been featured in all our local networks, nationally, in paper. Like it's just, if you approach it and you present it properly, it's just something that they absolutely love to talk about. I love talking about it. And I know even my clients who have the procedures, if they're not really super self-conscious or, it has a really negative connotation for them, they love talking about it too. So media is huge. And I've also paid for media. And let me tell you, that is the most expensive and very difficult way to quantify if you are actually having success with it. So I think some of the things that we think are the cream of the crop, if you could afford to do it, aren't even the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I never paid for it. So I just went away around finding the strategies, which helped me get lots of, press articles. And the great thing about that is you also get the SEO backlinks.
Yes.
So you get, that puts you higher on the ranking. Once you get one logo, like I was on Dr. Oz show, I can use that forever with my brand. So just you only need one time and you can forever put that on, every, on your email signature, if you wanted to, on your website, on everything, right? And it lends that credibility to your brand, and trust. And then, again, you could pay a publicity relationship, manager,
yeah.
A PR agency, basically, or you could pay for different types of press, like, when, there were different, I'm trying to think of Larry King when he was alive. You could pay to be interviewed by him. There are different ways, but I think you want to really think about, again, having a strategy, having your message. So because, you have to think that you're competing against all of these other press stories. So you want something that's going to get their attention. And then also knowing who to contact, all of those things, like, knowing the way to go about it and then the way to make the most out of it when you get the press. Because the press is just one part, yeah. Right? And then there's ways to actually make it turn one piece of press into 10 times what it needs to be to really maximize it.
Well, it's that recycling of content. So once you get that one, there are so many different ways to then incorporate that into different forms of advertising, social media. One of the things that I think maybe PMUs might get caught up in when they're doing stuff like that is their mentality is with them. What's in it for me? Where it really needs to be the complete opposite. You have to approach it just like you said. What's in it for them? And then that gets reciprocated. And it is just that give and take. But I think when you're initiating that, you really have to pitch it to them that, you're there to support their business and really make a success for not them, but both of you. And this is why it's a great relationship and something that we should explore together. And that's been also something that's been very successful for me. And the very cool thing about that too, especially with physicians, I find, is they then talk. So when you get into a market that's a little bit either cliquey or very niche, it's interesting, like you break into that and then it's a whole complete different exposure without you even trying.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, what you were just saying there, Jody, is you can also level up your press, right? So once you get one piece of press, you can use that to actually, climb the ladder of even, more press. So if you want, to be on the local news, if you want, whatever you want to do. Sometimes even the bigger national thing that people always think of, oh, that would be so great, is not as great as just like the local, whatever the local paper, the local news, that type of thing. So, but you can ladder up. You can kind of basically leverage it to get even further.
God, I could not agree more. Local is so much more powerful than national or global. Like, don't get me wrong, those things are great and they're great accolades to have, but they're certainly not going to bring you business in-house unless you have something like online. Like, that is part of my business. That's it. I market that different than I market my PMU, because I want to keep it local or to like a certain distance around my local, because those are my clients, those are my customers. So, when you're focusing those efforts, obviously you keep that in mind and not be going after sort of the big fish, because it's just like you said, often that just doesn't pay off. It's nice. It's a vanity. It's a vanity for your website, for your social media, etc.
Yeah, and it's a vanity, but it does pay off in terms of SEO and backlinks. So because the higher the media source, or the, you know what I mean, that type of thing, the more well known they are on Google, then the more that backlink credibility works for you in your favor. So there are certain parts to it. I mean, it depends on, again, this is when you have a strategy, knowing all of your goals. Are you just trying to get some local clients? Are you trying to get more brand exposure, more visibility? Just knowing your goals. And I think that so many beauty professionals just think, okay, it's just social media, right? It's just this is what I need to do. I'm just going to, do the next TikTok dance and, right. And whatever it is, and hope that goes viral. But, followers don't always equal buyers. We've seen this. There was a recent story about an influencer who had 3 million followers and could not sell more than 10 t-shirts.
I heard this story and it blew my mind.
Yeah, 3 million followers. Like, it's crazy. And they were engaged, but that doesn't necessarily mean, like I said before, it doesn't mean that it's going to be translated. So having a strategy, thinking outside of the box, like we said before, your time, your money, your creativity, and then, doing your research and finding, okay, do I have more time? Do I want to try to figure it out myself? Because you can definitely do that. I mean, thank goodness for the internet. You can figure it out yourself. You might not know the connections of like who to connect with, right? Because that's kind of insider knowledge. Yeah. I actually have a list of 250 insider, like their email. I actually have a list. So that's one of the things I give to my students, because I always think knowledge is one thing, but you need tools. Yeah. You need like templates, you need connections, you need like somebody to say, okay, look, I've done it. You could watch all these videos, but here's really what you need to know. Like, let's boil it down to what you need to know. And here are the things to help you get started. So, but yeah, there's so many ways that we could focus on. And I think that is the biggest dilemma for a lot of beauty professionals.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the beauty of having a coach, is getting those things. Those are the pearls of just how that simplifies and takes your business to the next level. So, April, if a PMU has paramedical in their business, tell me your top 3 suggestions that they would be successful in adding what you recommend.
So they already offer, you're saying they already offer.
Yeah, they're trained in PMU,
paramedical.
they're ready to go. What are your top 3 suggestions?
Yeah. So the first thing, and I'm sure you've already said this and tell your students this, but you want to get with a plastic surgeon. People always think of like the big hospitals and things like that. And I always say, like with everything, just like we just said a moment ago, start small, because even though I do help my students get with, hospitals, I've had lots of students that do areola, specialize in that, and then get those contracts, which can be amazing. There's a lot of red tape that you kind of have to go through when you're first dealing with those bigger organizations, right? They have a lot of rules, regulations, things like that. But you can get with a smaller, plastic surgeon who, maybe doesn't do as much cancer, like breast cancer, but they might do a lot of areola revision, like from, implants or, taking them out, things like that. So there are a lot of places that you can work with scars and, right, just find your audience. And then also think about that audience. They're already paying premium prices. Yeah. They see the value in premium prices, right? And they're going to go with whoever the person that they trust recommends. Yeah. Right? They're like the best clients because they're so loyal. Yeah. They don't want to, fool around with their face and their health or, what any of their body. Like they want to make sure they're getting the best and they'll pay for it. So the first thing I would say is find those partnerships, right? The second thing is, like we just said, find some ways to promote your brand because interestingly enough, a lot of people don't know about paramedical. Yeah. They don't know that these solutions are out there. Yeah. Right? They've never heard of scar camouflage. Yeah. I had a client that came to me and she was, a cutter when she was a teenager. And so meaning she had, self-harm, cut herself. Yep, self-harm. And now she's in her mid-30s and she's got all of these scars that are on her thighs. Yeah. That's where she did it. And some on her arms as well, right? So this is going to be a lot of scar camouflage, right? But she didn't know where to go. She first went to a tattoo shop.
So common.
And then they referred her to me. Right, because that's not their bag of tricks. Yeah. That's not like their, maybe somebody might take it up, but usually they're like, no, that's not what we do. And this is where, again, going back to point A, having those connections, always have connections with a variety of different referral partners. Then you have a constant source of incoming clients. I would have med spas that were in Connecticut. I'm in New York City. They're in Connecticut, New Jersey, all around the tri-state area that would send people to me. So when you get known, they just keep sending people to you. So you have that constant source of clientele coming in. But like I said a minute ago, so then press, because a lot of people don't know about that. And also just getting vocal yourself. Yeah. Right? Talking about maybe you have a blog, maybe you do, like you do, Jody, you do the lives. I do lives as well. Like just getting the word out. Yeah. But so you can start there, but then the bigger ways to get your message in front of people is to stand on a bigger stage, right? And to get in front of a bigger audience. And that takes a little bit of like coming out of your shell and a little bit of confidence to put yourself out there. And there's a little bit of work that has to happen, but when you do, it's like so rewarding. I think of my girls. I have twin girls. And they're 10 now. I don't know where the time went. And they're out on summer break. And we just went to an amusement park that's here in California. And as we're going to this amusement park, they're looking at these big rides, right? And they're scared, right? Because these are big roller coaster rides. You're going upside down and turn, and it's super fast. And they're like, one's a daredevil, so she's all in. The other one is like, I'm not sure. But after they do it, they're like, let's do it again. It's like the best thing ever. But the whole time in line, they're shaking, they're nervous, they almost want to leave, right? And it's so, like, how many times are we the same way in our business, right?
One of the other things that I think we didn't touch on, and I think it's a really big one, is marketing to existing clients. So there's so much value in that. Those people are already your people. So that's probably the first and foremost way that I think you can start getting things off the ground. And then if you're nervous, to start expanding into all the different things we've talked about today, that's a really good way to get your feet wet. So, emails, your social media, these are typically people who follow you. Even when you have clients in-house, I always have pictures of the really cool paramedical stuff. And let me tell you, that gets the conversation going without me ever engaging in it first. So I would say that's almost number one, and then followed by all of the different things that we've talked about today.
Yeah, a buyer is a buyer.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why, follow the beauty buyers, follow that trail.
Yeah.
There's an expression that if you're going to do home improvement, you usually don't just do one project. Anybody that starts with the kitchen then starts to look around their house and go, oh my gosh, the bathroom, this needs, more projects come. The same thing is true with beauty. Once they do one thing, they're like, oh, wow, I can't imagine, my brows look so amazing. What about this? What about that? They start thinking about different things. So,
and just I know for me, I was always kind of a soft sale with that. Like I always thought, I want people to come to me and tell me they want these things. And since I've had a coach, I've really realized that I'm missing out on opportunities to engage people in things that they don't even know about. How are they going to come to me and ask me about these things if they don't even know about it? So I strike up conversations all the time about cool things I've done, or, hey, have you heard of Paramedical? It's like new service that we're offering, which isn't new for us, but for example, for one of my students. And it's just such a great segue in how to talk about those things. So, you have to think about the opportunities that already exist for you and take advantage of those. Like those branch off into sales for me for days, like just by being interested and being passionate about what I talk about. April, one of the things I did want to do is just get to a few of these questions here. So I'm just going to circle back and see who wants to talk to us. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and you could even just say, do you know of anybody? Because sometimes they'll say like, oh yeah, my aunt could really use that. Or, oh yeah, when you say, do you know of anybody that could use these services or could benefit from these services, asking a question really sparks their brain and they think of other people that could benefit.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Worthy Ink Studio says, what about when you're completely paramedical? So I'm guessing your whole business is paramedical. The marketing seems more challenging because people don't fully grasp what you do. So for me, my answer to that is basically jogging back to everything that April and I have been talking about. The ways that we talk about things are the ways that you need to be talking about things. Do you have any other steps or things that this person should be doing in order to create more success in their business that's strictly paramedical?
Yeah, so it sounds like that's coming down to messaging.
Okay.
So messaging is like the key foundation, right? You have to know how you are unique, what is different about how you do what you do that is going to get someone a superior benefit, right? Because I always say that there's this thing called the Google slap, in that when they hear about a new service, let's just say it's microblading, or let's just say it's areola repigmentation or restoration, right? What do they then do? Google it.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're not standing out, if you don't have a unique way that you do it, if they don't know why they should come to you, they basically go to the lowest common denominator, which is price.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they don't see why what you do is special and how you do it, so I would find ways to really think about what you do and how it's unique. Like maybe it's the needles you use, maybe it's the way you do the design, maybe whatever it is, how you do it, uniquely do it, that gives them a superior benefit. Because they want not just solutions, but superior solutions. And then always, anytime you make a marketing claim, you always have to back it with proof. Mm-hmm. So show examples, not just pictures, but tell stories of clients and how maybe they had faster healing because you did it this way, or they had tell the testimonials, because that's our greatest proof, really. But not the testimonials, but the story, like the case study, the story, because you've probably heard the expression that facts tell, but stories sell.
Yeah, I love it.
And And stories are what we remember, right? We remember stories. Like somebody might walk away from this interaction and they might have taken like one or two tips, but they might remember that crazy story about my kids on the ride and putting themselves out there and being courageous, right? Like the stories are kind of like the glue that help them remember your business. So find your messaging. And I would say to that person is really just keep telling your story. And find unique angles to tell the benefits of the story.
I love that. I think it's so accurate too. The story is what sticks in people's mind. And I know it seems redundant, but you have to keep telling that. And it's not something that you tell once and you're like, okay, well, I told that story. It's like, you need to be a broken record. You need to tell the story over and over again. You need to take maybe different parts of the story and elaborate on that and just keep that conversation going, because you never know when someone is tuning in. One of the other things too is like posting those stories to YouTube, doing what we're doing today, like IGs, reaching out to people to talk to those different possible audiences, having one of your clients on an IG to talk about their experiences. There really are a lot of ways to get those, to advertise to that market without necessarily spending money, but being really effective.
Yeah, and Jody, what you just said there is so good, because they might hear it a different time. I've had students that have been with me for 3 years and they'll say, what? And I tell a lot of the same things. I'm talking always about the messaging and I'll say it in different ways, but they're like, wow, I heard that differently today. And I'm like, I've been saying it for years, the same things, but they hear it differently. And then the other thing I want to just mention is, like, you tell that story and people will find themselves in your story. So somebody at home might not have kids, right? They might not have kids and they might not relate to, me taking my kids to an amusement park, but they can relate to the part of the story where after they do something that they were nervous about doing, they were excited and ready to do it again, right? After they put themselves out there, we've all been rewarded for our courage in different times, right? And so they'll find a piece of them in that story. So tell stories of your clients and the whole story, not just the before and after picture, but what they were feeling before they had the service. What were their reservations? What were they nervous about, and what did they overcome? So, yep.
I love that. April, thank you so much for being a part of this. And I think you shared some really great marketing tips, strategies, as you always do. Where can people find you if they want an amazing coach and educator like yourself?
Yeah. So I have 2 programs that I mainly have, and one is called my Elevate program, but that is not currently open because we only do it at certain times, because when I go in to coach my students, I'm all in. So we have it just a time where we're kind of working through it, and that will be open, and they can find out more information on my website, which is aprilmeese.com. If they're wanting this publicity workshop, it actually starts on Monday, but we're doing it live on Monday, but a lot of people can't make it live, but it's recorded. So the great thing about that is they have lifetime access to it. And as of today, so that link is aprilmeese.com/media. And as of today, there's actually a 50% off coupon with it. So after today, they can still purchase it on my website at any time. But right now, anytime we offer something at the beginning, it is the best value ever. So it's $297 right now for the workshop, which is a steal of a deal, because they get the media, they get speaker one sheets, they'll see all the bonuses that they get, and they get lifetime access to it. So that's aprilmeese.com/media. But also on social media, if you have any questions, if you want to DM me, I get it, because I'm a beauty professional as well, and I grew my business, and so I know that there's a lot of struggles, and there's a lot of hurdles, and there's a lot of questions, and a lot of times, even though we have social media, we feel all alone because we're solo entrepreneurs, a lot of us, right? You might have a few people that you hire after a while, but at the beginning we start off as solo entrepreneurs, and that can be kind of lonely. So I don't want anybody to feel like they're stuck or lonely. So just reach out.
Awesome. Well, if any of our viewers are interested in adding paramedical tattooing, please check out the Academy at Jody Stoski. And then if you want to know how to have an amazing business coach to make it successful, please reach out to April. April, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you, Jody.
It was lovely to have you. And
Thanks.
yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed these amazing marketing tips that were shared today.
Okay, thanks, Jody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.